to the cloud. So again, to find technology assignments, pretty clear. You click on technology assignments, and we're on tech assignment C now, which is related to, like I said, baseball. All right. So, the usual blurb here, do some things. There will be a discussion prompt related to this, so I'll get that up later. I just wanted folks to make a little headway on the assignment itself first before I got into the discussion part of it. So you click on the assignment, and that brings you to the assignment page. And this assignment is on simulating baseball. I just dropped something. I hope it wasn't. Oh, power cord. That's a problem. All right, maybe I'll do that later. So yeah, again, it's the same deal. It's not a group submission, but the cooperation among individuals in the class is not discouraged. Right? So definitely talk to each other about this. Like whether you do it through the chat or otherwise, that's up to you. But not the chat, sorry, the discussion board. You can do it through the chat too if you want, but through the discussion board. The setup, create a Google account if you don't already have one. In theory, you should. We're going to do Google Sheets, and you're going to open a new spreadsheet. All right. So, the issue here is that the link it doesn't work. I mean, it does work. It's just you can't click on it unless you download the whole thing. Right. So if you click on it and open it up as a separate spreadsheet, not spreadsheet, PDF, then it should give you, maybe later on that. Let me just make sure I'm not lying here. Keep doing command instead of and you know what, I'll make it simple. I'll just actually pull up the words are escaping me right now. The link separately, and I'll post it in Blackboard. So let me just do it this way. All right, fine, do it. My son is having fun with the fart gun. So, let me just prove it, please. I need, please. I'm not kidding. Give me the damn thing. I just need to prove it. Like I'm not an animal, right? So I mean, if I am, it's not for that reason, right? So anyway, I honestly can't find where I put that thing. So we're going down a journey of me clicking on stuff and hoping that the file I'm looking for is there. Oh, there it is, Tech Assignment C Baseball Scoring Sheet. All right, so let me get the link on that. Done. Oh, no, not done. Get link, copy link, and make sure anyone link can view. Okay, so I'm putting that in the chat for you. Eating those Wheaties. I knew it was coming. I gotta tell him. Yeah, he was hoping for that kind of reaction. All right, so this is the file that I was going for. So I created a little spreadsheet here for you to put your results. All right, so it's the baseball activity game log. All right, and so it's very, very straightforward in terms of what I'm asking you to do. You're just playing the game. All right, so and again, you follow the link, but you have that in the chat. I'll make sure it goes up in Blackboard also. So adjacent to the table, you want to create a column of 500 random integers between 1 and 1,000. All right, so let me bring that up. So somewhere over here on the right hand side, doesn't really matter where, anywhere you want. All you're doing is just creating those random integers, and we did that in the last tech assignment. So rand int. Oh, you know what? That's hilarious. I was doing it as if it were a TI calculator thing. All right, so equals rand between. That's the one you want. All right, so rand between, and you can just type it out. 1 and 1,000. And it'll spit back a value that's in between 1 and 1,000. And you want to do that, whatever I said, 500 times, right? 500 random integers, right? And then you have this little breakdown here. In the last tech assignment, you learned how to generate random integers, blah, 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 or talked about that. So this is information from the 2008. So it's very dated, but I just didn't have it in me to do what I did to come up with this information, but for more recent years. And honestly, this information works out pretty fine anyway. All right. So what these percentages break down to, I'm trying to get this little bar at the top to go away. These percentages break down to values, if you want to, out of 1,000. So 175 out of 1,000, because 1.175 is to the 1,000th place. So that's equivalent to the fraction 175 over 1,000. So there are 175 out of 1,000 instances in which a person got a 1B. All right, a 1B is a one base hit or a single. All right, 54 instances out of 1,000 where they got a 2B, so a double, a triple 5 out of 1,000 on average. Right, home runs 29 out of 1,000, errors 70 out of 1,000, and so on. So what I did was I created a range of values going from 1 to 1,000 that corresponded with those percentages. All right, and then I also looked into what the stealing success rate was. So a stolen base, 67.2% of the time, there was a successful steal. Right, so I let the numbers 1 to 672 represent a stolen base. All right, so in the simulation, I have a video here for you, which I'm sure doesn't work also, so I'll make sure I get that video posted on there, just to give you a little bit of a sense of the rules of baseball if you're not familiar. If you know a ton about baseball, you don't have to watch the video. All right, but if you're not really familiar, then you may want to take a look at it. All right, so I'll get that up on Blackboard also. But you want to simulate the game of baseball, knowing that you have a total of 27 outs to work with, right? And those 27 outs occur in 3-out increments. So it's 3 outs for one team and 3 outs for another. Then back to the first team, then back to the second team, and so on. I included a diagram here if you wanted to, sketch this out and mark it up so that you can keep track of the information. But then once you've played your game, you'll have probability analysis. And this part you would not be ready for yet because I haven't taught you anything related to the ANOVA test, but that's coming. All right, so you can at least get to the point where you're actually playing the game, and we'll get to the follow-up stuff later on down the line. But you can see here, give two other real life instances where this technique might be applied and so on. Games are a pretty easy application of this. But yeah, there's some follow-up questions that you want to account for. But for now, it's just focusing on the game. So how do you play the game? Well, you go to your spreadsheet. We have the one outcome. You can do it one at a time, or you can do that little drag and drop business going out to the 500th trial. All right. And then you can label this if you want, but I don't need you to label it. You can label it for your own purposes if you want. But drag and drop or control, well, it depends on the device, Control C, Control V, or Command C, Command V. All right, so these would be the outcomes. You will not need to go through all 500 of these. I just wanted you to have a list of random numbers to work with so that you didn't have to go back looking for the different random numbers. Right. So what I would do is it's really an assignment in cross-referencing, because I look at this and I say 280, where does that fall? Right. 280 falls in this category. Right. So that would mean that a person got on base with an error. Right. So what I would do in my table is I would just put for team one, and you can call team one, you can give them a name. You can keep it fictitious, but within this cell, you're just going to put the different events as they occur. So I got an E. That was my first event, right? I did not record an out, right? So anything that involves you recording an out will say that there's an out, right? So the first set of outcomes here, from 1 to 429, all of these instances are involving a person getting on base successfully, so no outs are recorded. This set of values, this set of outcomes are all some kind of out, all right? So whether it's on a ground ball or a fly ball of some kind, a foul out or a strikeout. And this last one is the weird one, very rare instance, a strikeout on a wild pitch. So this is the conditional. So this is one where you got to kind of keep track of things. All right. So right now I have a man on first. If I got 1,000 as my random number, he struck out on a wild pitch. So the out is recorded because there's a person on first base. If there was nobody on first base, then the out would not be recorded, and this person could then take first base. All right. So if that's not something that you're comfortable with, if that actually comes up during your trials, you could look at your list and see if the number 1,000 comes up. So far, I can't see it anywhere, right? But you can ask me, all right, well, what does that mean? Or the video should be a little bit helpful, but there will be some weird occurrences where you're like, what does that mean in this instance? So it moves on you. Ooh, dangerous, right? So before you get too far ahead of yourself, you've created your random integers, and you definitely don't want it fluctuating on you as you go. So copy this. All right, so you do a copy, and then paste values only, paste special values only. That formatting might get a little wonky, but that's okay. You see here, every time I make a move, so I go down the line, kind of change things up, it changes on me, but now it's settled in to the appropriate value. Now the first one, E, that came from, I hit the wrong thing. That was in the 260. I'm just gonna change that number here, that first one, to like 300. I'm just make it consistent with what I typed in there already. And this one's 836. So I just want that formatting to be correct. Format, align, right, just to make it look a little nicer. So this is what we're working off of. So for the sake of sanity, I'm going to highlight that in yellow. And you see how these are changing. So these are not the random numbers I want anymore. Otherwise, it'll be a nightmare. All right. So 836, go back to my table. 836, that's a strikeout. All right. So what I would do is I put a K here. The best I had was a person on first base. Nobody scored. So my score total there is 0. All right. So we got an out. Nobody scored. So I'm 2 trials in. Now I'm on my 3rd trial. 231. That's a triple. Right. So now some action's happening here. So I'm on my 2nd out. 3B for a triple. All right. Still haven't recorded that 2nd out. So what I would do here is I'd look at it and say, my man that was on first base, everybody is advancing 3 bases, right? So the guy that's at home is now going to go to 3rd. The guy that was at first is now going to come home and score. All right. Having this kind of be a living document is kind of a good thing. But what a lot of people will do is just kind of have a piece of paper where you're just you have a diagram with home plate, first, second, third, and you just maybe take a coin and just move it around, just to kind of keep it organized. But that's telling me that I'm now at 1 run with room for improvement. I might be able to score another run. We'll see. Right. So I'm 3 outcomes in. So maybe I'll change the color here to indicate what I've already accomplished. 980 strikeout. All right. So 980 is a strikeout. That's the end of this portion of the inning. I'm 2 outs away. 2 outs into the inning. I got 1 out to go. All right. So I'm going to change that color. 234. 234 is another triple. These outcomes are pretty popular. So I had a man on third. That man came in to score. Now I have a new man on third. All right. So that person was forced in. Now there's another man on third. So that outcome has been accounted for. 912. You start to get familiar with this. Anything over 756, for the most part, is going to be a strikeout. That's what we're looking at here. So it's feast or famine. You're either getting on base or you're striking out. But this team scored 2 runs in that first inning. So the first inning's in the books. So then you move on to the next team. And you can still work off of the same data because it's still random. All right. So you look at it and say, okay, 337. What does that give me? 337 is a base on balls. All right. So that means you're on first base. No runs, but you have that outcome, 449. 449 is a ground ball out. All right. So this is a tricky outcome. Ground ball out. The batter is out. The player on first is also out, right? Because what that is a simulation of a double play, right? So that ground ball out, and that's an assumption that we have to make here. Doesn't always play out that way. Sometimes that play isn't completed, but in this case, since there was a man on first, they were able to turn a double play, right? So we have a ground ball out. So no runs scored. This outcome is irrelevant. So I put a dash in there. I use 3 dashes to keep it clean because you recorded 2 outs on that single play. All right. So these 2 outcomes have been accounted for. And now I'm at 976, which experience is now telling me is a strikeout. All right. So 3 runs in the books. 3 outs in the books, no runs scored. So now the score after one completed inning is 2-0, team 1 against team 2. All right. It's a painstaking process. It takes a little while to complete, but it's a pretty rewarding experience once you complete it. All right. I'll leave it up to you how you want to complete this. I will give you the opportunity, even though it doesn't say it in the instructions, to perform the simulation as part of a group of 2. So if you want to work with somebody else and do one simulation for 2 people, that's fine because it will make things a little easier. But everybody does have to turn in their own final submission. All right. So that part, like I said, is up to you. But you're working your way through, and you can see here we're 1/9 of the way through the game, and it's all right for it to end in a tie. For those of you who know a lot about baseball, you know that it could go to extra innings, and you tend to not end. The games don't end in a tie. You just keep going. That it's already going to take long enough to do this. We're not going to go down that road. Right. So once you've completed 9 innings, you're done. All right. So yeah, that's that. I expect that I'll have to explain a little bit more about this next class, but for now, I think I've given you enough to at least get started on it. If you have any questions, message me or ask me next class, and I'll talk to you about it. All right. So at this point, I'm going to stop the recording.